And so when you start putting it all together, you really can see the interest, which that's the driving thing. The process was smooth. Turnkey did a really good job. Marcy did a really good job, and we did have really good alignment with the curators and all that. And that's all really important. But it just went through it very fast, and then in the end, from Sophie to myself to the curators, the president, everybody involved, it was pretty clear what the right answer was.
Laird, you mentioned the involvement of Sophie. What kind of input did she have into this hire, and how good was it to have her involved?
Yeah. So first of all, it was a real pleasure. You all know Sophie, so you've been around her. I hadn't had a chance to do that, for just being here. So for me to get to know her and just get her perspective on the program, her passion for the program, and really have that player perspective was really important. And she's also a player that knows other players that have played for coaches, right? So not only having the history of this place and the knowledge of ball, but the relationship she has, she was just a great advisor. And knowing that she was so supportive of this hire was really important to me, and I think it speaks a lot about the future of
Laird, when you were having those initial conversations with Coach Harper, what were some character traits that immediately stood out to you?
Well, first of all, she is a winner, right? You look at her career, her resume, but she has a real passion for coaching. And sometimes when a coach takes a year, kind of steps back like that, you sort of wonder how they're going to react. So it just really reinforced to me how passionate she was about this, about the job, about being here, being back, at the table, so to speak. But also just her interpersonal skills and how she relates to people. You can see just from the conversation that she had up there, she's going to fit so well here. And one of the things that sort of struck me, after I introduced her to the team, she had a time. She actually, I thought it would be like she'd spend 5-10 minutes with them. I left the room so they could talk without the boss looking over their shoulder. And it was like an hour later, she comes out, from these conversations with the players. And it really stood out to me. She's going to be who she is. She's just going to be able to be who she is and do really well being who she is. And I think having that comfort and that connection and that fit is going to be really, really, really good for her and good for our basketball program.
Laird, how important is it to have a coach with the experience she has, especially in the SEC? She's won a lot. How important was that to her, and how much of that, stand out on her resume?
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the real things that stood out was that experience, particularly like you mentioned in the SEC. Not only has she been a proven, high-quality head coach in a lot of programs, she knows what this league is about. But she actually scouted them for the last year too, which I think she's getting ready for her day job with the SEC Network. So just knowing that and having the history, and I am telling you, you cannot find anybody to say anything bad about it. Right? And we try, right? You call around, you do all your homework, you do due diligence, and it's remarkable how well respected she is in this league.
Laird, we saw the contract, but commitment goes beyond just what you're paying her staff. So what does that look like in terms of NIL commitment to the program?
Yeah. As you might imagine, with every conversation you have with a candidate these days, that's part of it, right? So talking to them not only about what our NIL commitment currently looks like, what the revenue share is kind of projected to be, where we see how that playing out. Again, no, I'm not going to go into all that detail here, but knowing that we have that commitment and them feeling confident they can come in here and build a roster at a high level in this league and at this time, that was really important. But it was also such a selling point to us that we've got such a good infrastructure here. I brought Brad Larondo on the trip with us as we sat down with her in person for the first time, in large part because I wanted her to see what our Every True Tiger program, what our NIL structure looks like, and just all the depth to it that goes beyond the vast majority of places. And I know that was another selling point for her really quick, because she knows she can get up to speed really quick. She's going to have that support. She's not going to have to manage every agent conversation. She's got people there that are going to help her with it. Just the whole thing from A to Z is such a good structure, and I think that gave her a lot of comfort as she moved forward in the process.
Laird, in a similar vein, you talked about just the reception since you announced the hire. What have you heard from the donor base and folks who can financially support this effort for her?
Yeah, a lot of excitement, but to the point where I've had donors, former players come up and come out of their way to thank me and thank us for making a hire of this magnitude, right? Somebody that has this type of experience, someone that is such a proven winner at this level. I mean, it just speaks volumes that we're committed, right? We really care about this program. We believe in it. And that's been really reinforcing to me and encouraging to me that people care enough to kind of go out of their way and let us know that.
We're talking about the NIL and that was impressive. Where do you feel like in this program in particular you guys are in terms of the rest of the SEC on that kind of support?
First of all, I do think it's hard to fully predict that right now because we're still living in this sort of world where we don't have real transparency in reporting, which is one of the things that we're looking forward to in the House settlement and kind of moving forward. And so a couple, 3 years from now, we'll be a lot more definitive in that answer. I would say we are highly competitive. We are not going to outspend everybody, but we're also not going to be at the lower end either, right? We are going to be competitive, and we're going to provide her what she needs. And she felt like, and other candidates, we talked to them through the process, felt like we needed to be in. And that's one of the advantages we have of this infrastructure. We have real data and information that tells us, hey, are we doing the right things? We're spending the right way, but are we spending smartly? And so I felt really good about our position.